Danny, congratulations on an amazing run with UConn this season. I'm going back and thinking about that kid who grew up in the country village section of Jersey City and had some big dreams basketball-wise. So how has the reality of being a two-time national champion at UConn matched those dreams you had as a kid?
Yeah, I think Jack, just growing up, I didn't dream of doing it as a coach.
Yes.
Yeah, all your dreams were centered around. Even back then, it was like it was Big East basketball. You really weren't even thinking about the NBA. So your whole your whole life was watching Pearl Washington and at MSG versus those great Georgetown teams of Patrick Ewing or Chris Mullen and uh, Walter Berry. So your dreams were like playing in the Big East someday. So yeah, I mean, doing it now as a coach, incredible, the back-to-back national championships. But I tell you what, winning the Big East tournament at MSG was a really close second or third.
I have to imagine, right, when you're a kid shooting hoops, you're trying to make those threes. You're not trying to diagram a play that would allow someone else to make those shots. But Danny, I watched you guys this year, and so impressive. And the words that jumped out for me were interchangeable, intelligent, talented. In your estimation, what made your team so dominant? What were the elements that came together so seamlessly?
Yeah, I mean, we've had great cohesion in terms of being able to keep my staff together. Um, with Kamani Young and Luke Murray and Tom Moore, just a staff that's, for me, the best in the country. I've been fortunate enough to keep around me. And we've been through a lot together. We've also experienced, some of those early exits in the NCAA tournament. So a little bit of trial and error in terms of the tactics and the personalities and roster construction, and really just, I think, a shift in terms of the way we evaluate the talent and construct the roster, where we went away a little bit from athletic upside in terms of, just that overall, just athletic talent, and look for, players that maybe could process the game faster and better, more shooting, better passers, taking maybe a different approach in terms of the analytics of basketball, more threes, more rim twos, trying to get to the foul line more. You're going away from like a over dribbling, like a ball screen dominant offense, and moving more bodies around the court, cutting more diverse type of actions in our offense, and just putting more players on the ball. Having two different types of centers has also been something for us. I think that's unique about the way that we play. We value two centers, and we always try to have two different types of centers on our roster. So I think just through the trial and error, we found the formula that works for us.
It was very noticeable. I don't think someone had to be a basketball expert to notice that what UConn was doing was different. Now, and I'm glad you brought up your staff, because you've been quoted as saying it's an old school approach, but it's a blend of modern basketball and analytics. And I think you just gave me a taste of that right there. How would you further describe that approach of what the UConn approach is?
Yeah, so in recruiting, we're looking for old school values with the family, maybe with the high school coach, with the grassroots coaches, with the family. What's the inner circle look like? Are they about like work ethic? Are they passionate about basketball? Do they love the game as much as I love the game? When the person that cares too much meets the person that doesn't care enough, that's where the friction happens. So you got to love it like we do, like our staff loves it, like the way the UConn fans love it. When things go badly, do we believe that the family is going to? What's the message going to be to to their child? Is it going to be the coaches stink and the system is bad, or is the message going to be you need to get in the gym and work harder, listen to your coaches? So those are the only type of people that we're bringing into our organization, and we vet that out. We watch very closely during the recruiting process the people that we're bringing in, so that when it's time to sacrifice for the betterment of UConn basketball to pursue championships, there's not going to be a brushback against that. So, I mean, there's thresholds of talent, size, length, shooting ability. All these different things that are necessary to play at this level and to win championships. But it doesn't do UConn any good to bring in really talented players that have characteristics and qualities that are going to make us lose. That doesn't get us anywhere.
So that leads to my next question. Beyond the obvious need to be a talented player, you have to be talented to play at UConn. What are some of the attributes that you look for in players?
Yeah, just coachability. Just a work ethic. We need to have gym rats. Like, the ball always needs to be bouncing outside my window. We got the $45 million practice facility that the players better be living in here, not just when we're doing our scripted work that the NCAA allows us to do, the 20-hour work week or the 8 hours during the summer. So gym rat type of mentality, players that love the game more than everything else in their lives. Competitiveness, like great competitors that are dying to win and compete, like relentless people that way. And then players, obviously, they're going to have that perfect blend of like pursuing their dreams of getting to the NBA. But at the same token, like, they want the championships just as much as they want to be drafted in the first round. And you've got to hold out looking for those, because they're not growing on trees. That perfect balance that you're looking for.
Danny, I've been around the Yankees for more than 30 years, and there have been years where they won a World Series or didn't win a World Series, and you talk to the people in charge, and in the moment it ends, they go back to work. So you're smiling already. I think you know where I'm going. You win 2 straight titles, and you'd love to be able to go and take a vacation or something like that, but it's recruiting, it's the transfer portal, it's the NIL element of what you do now. How have you been able to move forward since winning it, and how much work have you been doing to try and put the pieces in place for the next UConn team?
Yeah, I think growing up as Bob Hurley Sr. as your dad and Bobby Hurley Jr. as your brother, just growing up in an environment like that, with the constant pursuit of excellence and the goalposts moving very quickly for what you're targeting next to accomplish. I think the current state of the college basketball world has just grown up in that household has prepared you to like turn the page quickly. And then the thing that you realized and you discovered last year was that euphoria of accomplishment, it dissipates quickly. You get pulled back into it at a parade, or when you go to the White House, or you ring the stock exchange bell, or there's some different moments that'll bring you back, but it doesn't fulfill you. It's the work, it's the journey with the next group, the next tribe that you're on this path to trying to achieve your dreams as a group. So I don't know. I think organically we got on that plane ride back from Phoenix, and the staff was sitting together, kind of shaping up next year's roster and our needs in the portal, and what we could expect from each returning player, and who was definitely going to head to the NBA, who was going to make a longer decision, non-conference scheduling, summer schedule, all those things we talked about on that like 5-hour flight back. So you turn the page really quickly, a lot quicker than most people could imagine.
You mentioned players going to the NBA. You're going to lose 4, maybe 5. You've added a handful of players via recruiting and transfers. This is similar to what UConn did in repeating this year. You guys had to reload. Not some of the other teams that went back to back had to do that. They brought players back. Your brother being one of those at Duke. Coach K had Bobby Hurley Jr. coming back. So how does that make the process even more difficult, more delicate, and more strenuous to know you've got the right pieces in place?
Yeah, Jack. What's tough is, or what's crazy is like, it felt like it would be tougher to repeat because, again, like Bobby Hurley, Grant Hill, Christian Laettner, Thomas Hill, Florida, Joakim Noah, Al Hortford, right? Like they returned, and we had to replace Jordan Hawkins, Andre Jackson, Adama Sanogo, for that chance to repeat. So, and we were picked closer to fourth in the Big East preseason poll than we were to win the league. We were picked third in the Big East by our peers. A lot of really smart national college basketball analysts had us outside the top 10. So it wasn't, and then now we come back with an even better team and absolutely dominate with 37 wins, a program record, 18 conference wins in the Big East, which is a Big East record, and play a level of basketball this past year that was the most efficient of any team in the last 25 years. So the repeat, looking at it at the time, felt like it was going to be tougher. But now with the portal going for the three-peat, I feel like we got a real shot at it because of the portal. Because we've lost so much, like you said, 4 or potentially 5 guys. We've been real strategic with the portal. We've got a top recruiting class coming in. We're retaining a lot of young talent, and then we strategically have added 2 players plus a McDonald's All-American. So people doubted us last year that we'd be able to do it. But we feel like we have reloaded, and we've got a real chance to do something that hasn't been done since UCLA in the 70s, which is now we did historic things this past year. We're thinking we could do legendary things this year.
You stole my next question. I was going to say John Wooden is the pinnacle of college basketball coaching. That's the last three-peat. And here's Danny Hurley in UConn, very able to talk about the possibility of doing that. How does that resonate with you, and how much will you use that to motivate your players?
I'm going to use it a lot, and I'm going to use it all the time, and I'm going to use it in the summer. When we're getting after it with practice, and we've got a full team on campus, and we're training like it's December, and we'll set our sights on truly doing legendary things, and that'll be a big motivator for us. As we approach November, once the season starts, you get so locked in on process. But when you get to those kind of like dog days of training and it's the 4th of July weekend and we're doing 2-a-days when most people are planning a 4th of July barbecue, we'll use that as a major motivator for us. And for me, I've studied and read and so much of Coach Wooden and my dad. So many of the Woodenisms I've heard over the course of my life. The chance to put yourself in the pantheon of a coach like that in terms of accomplishment, it's something that's certainly not lost on me.
You've mentioned your dad a couple of times. I grew up in Jersey City. I actually watched your dad coach going as far back as the 70s, written articles about your family starting in the 80s. I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How much has your dad's passion and intensity as a coach bled into who you are and molded you into the coach you are?
Yeah. Jack, my dad was so far ahead of his time, just as a coach, and just he was a real craftsman in terms of the way he viewed the vocation, and he was just so far ahead in terms of like the mastery of it, right? All the different aspects of it, the player development from a skill standpoint, the mastery of the attempt to master the tactics, the staff and roster construction, the branding of the program, He just was on this constant, psychology and leadership, motivation. Just he was so far ahead of his time, trying to master every aspect of the craft of coaching. So now you're around this, your dad who every single day he's absorbing every book, every clinic he can go to, every game he can watch on TV, the satellite dish on top of our house so that he could watch every college game that he could possibly absorb to look for any type of tactical advantage. And then he brought this energy and intensity to, practice planning and to game night experience. So just to have that modeled for you as a child, and now I've absorbed every aspect of that.
So I attended one of your dad's basketball camps in 1978. It was at Hudson Catholic High School. I got to throw a little curveball here at you because I'm a baseball guy. One day I showed up kind of early. There was only one basketball in the gym. I started shooting on a basket. These two kids amble over. One was about 7, one was about 5. It was you and Bobby. And here I'm thinking I'm the 13 or 14-year-old kid. I'm shooting. Obviously, you shoot, you make it, the ball comes back to you. You and your brother basically pushed me off that court. And it always reminded me of, as I've watched your accomplishments over the years, even at that age, be it a point guard mentality or later for both of you a coaching mentality, you took over the court. I know there's no way you remember that story, but you're laughing about it. And it just tells me I saw early on who you guys were going to become.
Ball security is job security, right? Possession of that ball. Possession of that ball is everything, right? So, and when you spend your life just, there's one ball at the parks in Jersey City, right? There's one ball, and it's, your 3-on-3 team, your 3-man team, your 4-man team, your 5-man team. Or if you're playing one-on-ones, right, you better find a way to keep possession of that ball by winning. And that was just basically, our whole lives, whether it was, the parks in Jersey City, 30 school, 40 school, 38 school, wherever we were, right? Like just in that environment, there wasn't a rack of basketballs. It was like, you better be really, really good, and you better know how to compete at a high level if you want to stay on the court.
Danny, how would you describe your sideline demeanor?
Overflowing at times. Sometimes just the perfect blend of composure and game management and intensity. But at times, it could get away from me. It could get away from me with the referees. It could get away from me in an opposing arena too, if the fans are getting too close on the way out. So, but that thing that, my engine, it runs hot, and my players, I think they respond to it in a really positive way. But it's certainly, there's some moments that I wish maybe didn't go as far as they do.
Paul O'Neill, as you know, was famous for his histrionics. He would throw equipment. He would argue with umpires. He might hit a Gatorade cooler. He told me that sometimes he would watch it back and he would say, I wish I had a do-over. But then he would also say, that's who I am. That's who I was. And in that moment, I was being true to who I was. I have a feeling that you would echo what I just quoted Paul as saying.
Yeah, I think you watch our team play, and there's a spirit, and there's a play in and play out intensity where we play every single possession with a level of desperation and urgency that, it's a byproduct of my leadership style and my intensity. So there's obviously way more positive than negative with that. But I'm also too, I'm very self-aware, and there are moments where, I do have regret, and I wish that didn't go so far. But I could flip this camera around and show you all the trophies. So I wouldn't trade those bad moments for the back-to-backs or the Big Easts.
100% understand that. You had the chance to throw out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium after UConn won its first title under you, its fifth title overall. You have two now. The school now has six. How nerve-wracking was it to be on that mound and throw a baseball 60 feet 6 inches?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time I took the mound, as a pitcher was probably Little League, college Little League, Greenville section, Jersey City, Country Village, and I think I gave up multiple home runs. Anthony Calandrillo, I think he hit one off me, righty and lefty, in the same game. He was obviously a little bit, I would have liked to have seen a birth certificate. So, I was haunted the last time I went out there. I got lit up. So really high level of nerves, but I practiced for 2 weeks. I took the mound. I had a manager. I threw like 25 to 30 pitches a day in preparation. So, but I was well prepared, but still, when you get up at Yankee Stadium and the way they bring you in there and the experience throwing the first pitch out for the Yankees is unique because of that organization, man. The way they bring you in and you're walking down the hallway and it's pictures of Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris and Derek Jeter and Paul O'Neill and Reggie Jackson and the boss. And you're just like walking around there and your eyes are, they're bugging out of your skull because I'm such a huge sports fan. And then, so you're kind of spooked by that a little bit. And then, you go up through the dugout and you look around. I'm in Yankee Stadium and you've seen some other people blow it and it's all running through your head. But what an experience, man. Like the organization, you could see why they've got so many championships. And then when you experience it in some other places, it just doesn't measure up the way they treat you in the day. It's amazing.
You also wore a Thurman Munson jersey as you threw out the first pitch, and I think anyone who knows you would not be surprised by that. What was it about Munson that you found so appealing to have his jersey on as you threw that pitch?
Yeah, I just think as a child and just growing up in our family, just the value that we put around gamers, winners, great leaders, people that earn the respect of their teammates at the absolute highest levels that they didn't, statistics were part of it, but more of the great leaders and the great captains and the great winners in sports, not the stat collectors. So I think that's what made it so appealing for me, somebody like Thurman Munson and what he stood for as a captain and as a leader.
Danny, I always like to squeeze in a couple of music questions I get toward the end of one of these interviews. So we're going to say that Danny Hurley gets an at-bat at Yankee Stadium, and they come to you and say, I need your walk-up song. What song would you choose?
Probably, I would have to go with probably Ring of Fire for me. Johnny Cash, because that's where I imagine myself entering the octagon, entering a boxing ring when sports happen for me. That's the mindset that I try to get myself. So Ring of Fire.
Well, I already liked you a lot, and now I like you even more because that is an A+ choice. I've told people that's my karaoke go-to song because it's only about 2 minutes.
Yes,
With a deep enough voice, you just rage through it. So that is a really cool choice. I got a couple of spies out there. I'll give you their names. Guys like Woj and Mike Vaccaro. I know you saw Bruce with them when he was on his last tour. But if there was a band or a musician, current or maybe retired, that I said, Danny, here's a couple tickets for you and your family. You could see this artist one more time. Who would you pick?
Well, somebody that I've seen that I was fortunate enough to see right before his passing and was definitely bucket list, Tom Petty. I was able to see him in Hartford maybe a couple months before his passing, which was incredible performance. And then, but right now for me, I would say Pearl Jam. For when I was in college, like 90s rock, grunge rock, 90s, Stone Temple Pilots, Pearl Jam. That they're on my playlist a lot. Live, Smashing Pumpkins, that was kind of like right in my wheelhouse. That's when rock was like, I thought like was great. There's not a lot of that right now for us. So Pearl Jam, though, if I had to narrow it down to one.
Great choices. I have to ask you, one Jersey City guy to another. You just won the national championship, and you're standing on the stage, and you shouted out Jersey City. And I can only imagine how many people's faces that brought a smile to, including mine. What prompted you to do that?
I mean, some people just they lived somewhere, or maybe maybe they just lived somewhere. Maybe it didn't mean that much to them. But I think just growing up and in Jersey City, like literally growing up, and just the way we grew up in our neighborhood, it was like the whole neighborhood helped raise us. Right? You spent the whole day outside, especially in the summers, but even in the wintertime, like as soon as school was over, you were outside, like playing all types of sports in everyone's backyard, in everyone's front lawn, and and everyone had a role in helping raise you in all these different neighborhoods in Jersey City. Obviously, the diversity of the city was like an incredible place to grow up. You have a level of comfort no matter who you're spending time with as you move on in life and move out of the city. And then just the blue collar nature of the place, and how much Jersey City supports me and supported our family throughout our sports careers as players, as coaches. It's got a special place in my heart. And if I did walk into a ring, it would excite me, fighting out of, Jersey City. I remember going to those Arturo Gatti fights, when he was boxing, and I've always been jealous in my career that I've never been able to be announced as fighting out of Jersey City. So that would be the one thing. Maybe they could start announcing me at UConn games, fighting out of Jersey City.
I love that answer. I love how you ended that answer. And I'm going to end this interview by saying, final question for Danny Hurley of Jersey City. You talk about motivating your players. You spoke very candidly about how, hey, a three-peat is there, and a three-peat is something that could be achieved. How do you stay motivated? What drives you and gets you out of bed every day to try and make sure that you're better that day than you were the day before?
Yeah, just think your responsibility as a coach, right? So there's really two parts to it for me. Just the responsibility as a coach that you have every single day on this job, to absolutely maximize the people around you, your staff, your players, to set a tone and to bring an energy into this job, and to push people to be at their absolute best. Because the great thing about sports is that we're only going to be as good as what we accomplish moving forward. And next year is going to be a completely different team that has absolutely accomplished nothing. So, that, and I let myself down as a player. I feel like, my experience in college at Seton Hall, I didn't accomplish what I was capable of as a player. So now I feel like I've got an even greater responsibility as a coach to kind of overpour into this part of my career to try to make up for what I didn't accomplish as a player or what I should have.
Danny, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the insight. Once again, congratulations on an amazing season. And if I ever do bump into you on a basketball court again, I got to try to make sure you don't nudge me off. I got to try and make a couple of shots to keep myself on the court.
Yeah, we've grown out of that. I've got more social graces now. We would just alternate shots.